Welcome, grade 5 and 6, to week 2 of your music lessons for this term. We're going to start off with our solfege warm-up that we did last week, and I'm going to teach you a new one after that. But before anything else, remember our quotes on concentration. I'm going to share with you this week's quote. It says, "It's the little things that are vital. Little things make big things happen." And this is so true. Because for anyone that you look up to, whether an athlete, a singer, an artist, a painter, each of them have spent hours working on the details. And what you see, what you admire, is the big thing. So they've taken time with the little things so that what you see makes it seem as though not much was done, that they didn't have to put in much effort to get to where they're at. But you don't know how many hours they spent. And if you tried to do what they do, you'd realize how much detail goes into what they do. So I want to keep encouraging you to concentrate on those details. As you do music, as you do math, as you do literature, focus on the details of each of your subjects so that you can see how the big picture actually comes together in life for everything. So today we're going to obviously do our intervals as I showed you last week. We're going to have our sight singing challenge, and I'll give you an example of what you're supposed to do. And then we're just going to begin with our solfege warm-up. So let's do that right now. So we'll begin with the first solfege warm-up from last week. Do, do, re, do. Those are our starting notes. Okay, 3, go. Do, do, re, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Let's now do the descending version of that scale. Do, 3, go. Do, do, ti, do, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Woo! All right, let's now do a new version of this solfege warm-up. So now we're going to jump and sing in intervals. So instead of doing the stepping, we're gonna skip from the next new note to the do. Let me give you an example. Do, do, re, mi, do, re, mi, fa, do, re, mi, fa, so, do. You get the idea. So we'll be jumping between intervals. And as the term goes on, we'll learn what each of those intervals are. But for now, let's just sing it. Okay? It's going to be a bit of a challenge as we get higher, but let's see how it goes. Do, do, re, mi, do, re, mi, fa, do, re, mi, fa, so, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now we're gonna try and do that backwards. Do, do, ti, ti, la, ti, la, so, ti, la, so, fa, do, ti, la, so, fa, So last week I introduced intervals, and we said the intervals is the space between two notes. The gap, how big is a gap between two notes? So today we're going to focus on the interval of an octave and the interval of a fifth. So we know that the scale has 8 notes. So when we sing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, those are 8 notes from do to do. Do, the lower one is the first, and the higher one is 8. Okay? So when we play that on our little keyboard over here, make this a bit louder. Do, 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 re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So if you're struggling to tell what an octave is, if you hear, then all you need to do is start with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And if it matches with that note, then you're good to go. So it's okay to sing through the scale to see whether the note that you think it is actually matches with what you hear. Do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So that's an octave. Do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay? So an octave is quite easy to identify because all you need to do is make sure you can identify your first do. Do, make sure you can sing the right pitch. Do, or if do starts here, do. And then, is it the same note at a higher pitch? Because that's what an octave is. You have a low pitch and a higher pitch, an octave apart. Alright? So that's quite easy to identify. But a fifth might take a little bit more concentration. Okay? Do, re, mi, fa, sol. So a fifth is from do to so. Whenever you hear your do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, that'll always be an interval of a fifth. So even here, do, do, re, mi, fa, sol. That's a fifth. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. Now if you have a keyboard at home, this would be quite nice for you because then you get to try out what I'm doing on my phone over here. So if you pick the note C, then you play the next C, which will be 8 notes away. That gives you an octave. If you want a fifth, then you play C, and 5 notes from C, starting with C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, will be G. And that's an interval of a fifth. So if you have a keyboard at home, this will be enjoyable for you as well. So now let's just do a quick challenge where I will play for you an octave or a fifth, and you have to identify it. Okay? So let's start with the first example. One more time. Is that an octave or a fifth? That's a fifth. Which one is it? That's a fifth. That's an octave. Octave or fifth? that is an octave. Now for the final part of this lesson, we're going to work on a sight reading challenge, which will have several notes of a music for you to sing. And I would like for you to send me a voice note recording of this challenge, okay? So you will send me a voice note recording to my chat, to my messages for this particular exercise, not for the assessment. Remember, the assessment we always submit to assignments. But for this assignment, I would like for you to send it to my chat as a voice note, as a voice recording. So looking at exercise number 1, this is the example exercise that I'd like to do for you. So I will play for you your do, and what you're going to have to do is read what you see according to solfege, okay? So if do, that's our do, and our first note will always be do for now, okay? So do. Is the next note a step above or a skip above? Oops, played by itself. Is the next note a step above or a skip above? Do, re. So it goes do, re, do, re, 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 mi, re, mi, re, 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 do, do, re, mi, re, mi, re, do. So this is a line that just goes beginning to end with no long notes. They're all quarter notes. So I'd like for you to go ahead and do line 2 to 4 and sing that for me using a voice recorder. And you will start every line with do. So you can pick the do. So G will be its own do. Okay? So don't read G as re, which is what we did for the exercise number 1. So that's all for today's lesson. I hope you'll be able to manage this exercise well. I believe that you will. But let's remember to relish our opportunity to concentrate and pay attention to those details as you work through your different assignments. See you next week.